It's the last DGPT event of the year. That means it should all go smooth.
Hits the rock.
What's up, degenerates? It's the disc golf world. I'm Jefferson, and alongside me, the one with all the holes in his game, Swiss Cheese. Breaking down everything you need to know from the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship. Before we get into the questionable format, it should be stated that the purse saw a 16.7% decrease, or $50,000 less than the previous season. And it's the second year in a row the purse shrunk. At least the minimum payout stayed at the $2,000. For some of the qualifiers, this is the biggest payday they'll receive, which is how they should be rewarded after a successful season. Andrew Presnell explains how hard it is to win, so might as well pay these people to get their ass kicked by someone who thinks 6'7" is funny. Prez brings up the biggest problem of this format. From his perspective, he has a mountain to climb just to catch up. But for Gannon Buhr, he hardly receives an incentive for being the best all season long. Each time we do this thing, there is some variation to how the championship is played. This time, the starting stroke advantage was less than last year. Better than when they tried giving strokes then taking them away after the cut. Oh, and remember even giving top-seeded players buys the first two rounds, then resetting the scores? The tour has a more complicated relationship with their send-off event than a middle schooler. And I still don't think we found the right format quite yet. Although, I could be wrong, so let me know if you enjoyed in the comments. Personally, I want to see a return to the Nathan Queen format, but that's only because I like fun. Clearly, that's what disc golf fans want too, as they're willing to risk their lives trying to get close to the action. During round 1, Calvin Heimberg launched a drive on hole 14 that caught a tree, directing it right into the face of a spectator. Social media erupted with comments about how could a fan be so close and why was he even there. Nowhere in sight was someone asking if the dude was okay. Well, I got an update for you, straight from the dude himself, or a guy pretending to be him, which would be pretty weird. Solid username pick though. First off, he took responsibility for catching the stray, but to his credit, it was the first time at a woods course, and New London is not spectator friendly. The disc hit below his lower lip, missing teeth by an inch, which surely would have resulted in a missing tooth. This didn't stop Chin Music from continuing to watch the round while bleeding from his mouth. Afterwards, he stopped at the ER for 5 stitches so he could be ready to root on Calvin the next day. Can't blame him either. How else is he supposed to get the win assist? So come on, who really is Calvin's favorite fan? Will 2026 bring more spectator ropes, or will VIP be forced to be implemented in order to limit scenarios like this? I haven't personally heard of a situation where a person was actually injured, so hopefully this doesn't ruin it for the rest of us. I mean, makes the DGPT put in more precautions for the future because of safety. To be fair, they might be too busy figuring out hole 14 at Ivy Hill to even worry about that. It's pretty funny they made a post about fixing the green only for that same hole to be the center of more controversy. But hey, no rollaways this time. Before we can get into all that, Swiss, hit the people with the FPO recap.
That finish and meltdown in the MPO will dominate the conversation for most of the week. And it might be just enough for people to ignore that Fire Festival food snapshot and an attendance that looked just as bare for Lynchburg, the home location the DGPT has thrown its full support in for not 1, but 2 stops next year. Yikes. That championship attendance still seems to be a problem for the tour, despite the best in the sport playing, highest prize pool moving the location, and a trophy that even Brody would like. But look, my job is to cover the FPO as quickly as possible and toss it right back to Jefferson. So let's dig into the action on the ladies' side that had its own final day meltdown and a redemption storyline of its own. The opening round saw Silver Saarinen close the stroke advantage with a 4 under to tie points leader Holland Hanley and Owen Scoggins. But the real shocker was just how well Lisa Fakis's clean 7 under round was at what was hyped to be the most difficult track in the world, which was the Paul Design New London Tech. Well, that was until Missy Gannon and Silva did it the very next day, both with even more birdies than the Fakis's clean sheet the day prior. Silva's 7 under would separate her a full 6 strokes ahead of Hanley, as it appeared that she would be coasting to a victory while heading over to Ivy Hills. Following their hot rounds, both Missy and Silva shot overs on day 3 that allowed Silva's lead to diminish to only 2 strokes heading into the final round. Chasing right behind her was Paige Pierce at 12 under with a 3 under day, and Holland the same with just a 2 under. And really, I can't just leave off Sophia Donica in this conversation, whose 6 under was the hot round of day 3 that got her all the way on to chase card. but unfortunately would not factor into the final day storylines, which had fans seeing if Silva could hold on, Holland's redemption story from a disastrous back half that cost her a world championship at Ivy Hills, and last, could Paige get her first DGPT championship since 2017, back when the payout was only $3,000. And it really wouldn't take long for those storylines to shrink at all, as Silva lost her lead after just the first 2 holes, only to take a double on 3 right after, finishing with a total of 10 OB strokes and just enough to hold on to a podium finish. Paige would notch 5 birdies on the front and went into the back with a 2-stroke lead over Holland, who quickly got 1 stroke back on 10 after a birdie. Holland, fully dressed in her peak character drip, to back up her press conference statement of people only remember the championship winner, not the points leader, with an absolute stellar of a back 9. Scored 5 birdies on her way to a 7 under and was in control while Paige faltered with 3 straight bogeys, allowing her to win comfortably for her first DGPT championship victory. Does it make up for a lack of a major win or that missed world championship opportunity last year? Maybe not, but that paycheck certainly doesn't hurt. That's enough on the FPO side, so let's kick it back to Jefferson.
After round 1 at New London, the leaderboard got all jumbled up. Calvin shot what some thought were impossible, a hot round 9 under to give himself a 4-stroke lead. Ezra Robinson and Aaron Gossage popped off round 2 at 9 downs themselves to put themselves into it as the field heads to Ivy Hill. Surprise, surprise, Isaac Robinson shot a blistering 12 under to push up 4 spots into the solo lead. Dude won a world championship here. Kinda expected something like that to happen. I do gotta say, that lead card looked hella spicy, and with the wind blowing harder than Brandy Love, it was gonna be a wild ride. Wasting no time, hole 1 got things going, and I'm not even talking about the missed foot fault from Calvin on hole 1. Isaac misses this, I guess, C2 putt. It's at least one most of us are pre-counting in. This allowed Goose to slide within 1 stroke of the lead. Calvin went OB off his drive on the must-get, and Isaac missed his 2nd birdie putt of the day, while Aaron tapped in his 2 for a share of first. He continued his hot play, sticking right before the hazard sand, leaving himself a scary putt. Gossage is not known for his ability on the green, but he slammed that bird in like he was on a mission. That time, it was to stay tied with Isaac as he found his first birdie of the round and followed it up with a textbook tee shot in hole 4 around the backside after he watched Aaron go out of bounds, having to settle for a bogey, nearly finding the OB again. Calvin nailed the long par putt for his 4th straight, slowly slipping from the lead. Hole 5 had not been birdied all day. Isaac threw his approach, but the wind had different plans, pushing his disc OB. Calvin was staring down a putt, but bounced it off the cage. Gossage left himself with a near bullseye for the only bird of the round, and again a share of the lead. Heimberg, now down 2 strokes, needed to get something going. That's exactly what he did in hole 6. His drive got bullied and had a huge skip, but with Calvin, when he can see the basket, there's always a chance. That was his first birdie of the round and took the box, just to immediately throw deep out of bounds on one of the easier holes. But wait, it's not done yet. Jump putting from the drop zone, his putter rolled all the way down, leaving himself with a long putt. Sadly, he would settle for a double bogey and be 4 strokes back. After a star frame on hole 9, Isaac threw out of bounds on his approach, the door wide open now for Goose. His disc skipped, rolled, bounced off the wall, finding himself looking at a putt. Sometimes disc golf rewards, other times it punishes, with a band hit. Just like that, Gossage is 6 under for the round and a 2-stroke lead with only 9 more holes to play. The troubles weren't over for the 2-time champ. His drive was leaking to the right, but after bouncing off a tree and possibly touching the toe of a fan, somehow landed on the fairway. But he made the same mistake on his approach, this time resulting in a penalty. Thankfully for him, Goose also made a mistake, only losing 1 stroke. Unfortunately, that still extended the lead to 3. Sneakily, Calvin was fighting back, knocking 2 birdies in a row, building momentum, just to have a missed throw on hole 12 that would result in a bogey and back to down 5 strokes. Everyone birdied hole 13, plus I've made you wait long enough, let's get into the drama of the fixed hole 14. The rain was starting to come down, which could be the reason for Gossage's slip, which had no chance of being safe. Possibly adjusting from that, Isaac turned over his drive, but by some miracle from God, kicked in bounce. Oh, it's not over. After what could be described as the worst shot all day, somehow the disc rolled back safe. Calvin, with the perfect opportunity, just needed to make it over the rocks and he'd be in position to strike. Absolute clutch shot. Finally, we're at the controversy, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me, but who cares? That's what a comment section's for. Let's start with everyone's favorite, time violations. From what I've seen online, it appears to be universally agreed that Goose spent way too much time for a second shot, ignoring the context of his first time winning after 8 podiums, or maybe that $30,000 on the line. Not excuses to break the rules, I get it, but grace is given all the times and situations where lies are tricky. There might not be the representation of trees everywhere, but you still got a slanted hill notorious for rollaways, a rock wall to make over, OB everywhere, and it's probably the first time he's throwing a shot from over here. With all that said, I'd give him a few extra seconds. Listen to what Big Germ has to say.
I guess the question needs to be asked, if you've approached your lie and you decide to move it back, does your 30 seconds start when you get to your initial lie or when you've addressed the lie that you're going to be throwing?
Well, that's a good question because he's going to be questioned about it after the shot.
Yeah, he is well over 30 seconds already at this point if you count the initial address of the first lie.
Which wasn't his lie.
I don't have an answer for this, but with it not clear in the rule book, benefit goes to the player. Pretty sure that's how it works. In that case, start the time over once he establishes the lie he's actually going to throw from. And here's where things get even messier. When I started the clock from the point I thought he addressed, established, or whatever the hell adjective you want to use, I clocked 28 seconds. I get that not everyone is going to account for moving the umbrella, but I'm not a dick. That said, this is what Yuli had to say.
So this is 36 seconds to this point.
For the second line.
Right.
Personally, I wouldn't stroke him for being 10 seconds off in what is probably the most stressful shot of his life, and he battled Macbeth in a playoff at Worlds. Makes me feel weird too when I don't know who made the call. The card or the person who missed the foot faults and all the other time violations. Goose was even caught honking back at the officials asking how close he was to over 30 seconds that time.
After being that frustrated.
Time violation there. Am I at 30 seconds?
I was under 30 seconds.
But how close? I mean, am I like, if I go 2 seconds later, am I getting stroked?
I don't know how you guys feel, but that just sounds like a whole lot of trust me, bro, you were under that time. Instead of replying with any sort of evidence that he's actually doing his job. But now we have to debate when the official clock starts. You mean the same problem every time? Yep, that one. This part isn't even what got the people riled up the most.
Ezra and Aaron will be going from the top.
Well, that's the question right now. Did Aaron cross the rocks? Did he break the plane? Or did he not break the plane?
Oh, because of the line.
The spotter is saying that from his perspective, Aaron's shot did not cross or touch those rocks in a way that he thinks he broke the plane.
It's important to note that the spotter on the hill is a certified decision maker. He determined that Goose's disc did not cross the plane, meaning he had to rethrow from his last spot in bounds and not the drop zone. Big unknown is, did Aaron's disc hit the rock? We only have a select few camera angles, and I will say I do see dirt flying up, although that proves nothing. The only other evidence we have as fans from home is the Nate Perkins call.
The wind is dropped it right out of the sky, hits the rock. It's going to be short.
There's been issues with not agreeing with the spotter. He doesn't necessarily believe that his 30 seconds was warranted. Now he's talking to the big guy, Jeff Spring, and they're just trying to clarify everything.
Goose clearly upset with the call and was pleading his case for not only the spot, but also the unjustified time violation. Problem for him is he still has a dangerous circle's edge putt to stay in the lead. Left it short, and here's when the booth were negative towards Goose's reactions. They were drawing conclusions, like some fans I will add, that because of the way he responded, along with finishing the hole out of order to discuss further with officials, that he disturbed Heimberg, resulting in the missed putt. I'm not making that claim, and I don't think Calvin is the type to make that sort of excuse, but here's the rumor.
The rumor is, unfortunately, Calvin's sitting there putting, and he's hearing still griping from officials about the call. So that distracted him. So it's a big mess.
Fans across social media have taken this moment as a time to jump off the Goose train. I urge you not to lose support for the Gooseman for showing how much he cares about this silly little frisbee game. Let's not pretend we all haven't punched a tree on the course once or twice. Aaron triple bogeys to tie the match up top with Isaac at 31 under, and Calvin sits just 2 back heading into hole 15. Isaac takes the box first with a classic putter play, making sure he stays in bounds. Heimberg, like a true Floridian, says, "Screw that," and sends it, making my boy Bobby on the camera do a little 2-step, nearly reaching the top of the mound. Frustration surely still running in the blood for Goose, he switched his play, going backhand, landing in a spot to attack. Not like Calvin, who was way up the fairway, forced to shorten his run-up, but with the full flex up the hill, managing to miss all the trees, finding himself a putt for eagle. It wasn't quite 15 feet, but like I said earlier, all he needs is a look at the bucket, and Calvin can make it happen. There's also no way he misses again after that last putt. It's simply impossible. Isaac and Aaron both take the birdie, which puts Calvin 1 stroke back with 3 holes left to play. Momentum back on his side, he unleashes a bomb in the 16th, taking control of his destiny. At first, it looked like he cooked it to the right, but that beefcake fought back to the fullest of flights, skipping off the green for additional distance in the best possible place. Nobody else dared going over. I mean, they aren't insane. Maybe they should be, as Heimberg makes his approach look easy for the only birdie of the day on hole 16. Needing to execute now more than ever, Isaac throws OB, and with all the luck used up, stayed there this time, ending his hopes for that 30 grand. With the wind absolutely ripping, Goose missed his par putt, which means Calvin's birdie gave him the outright lead. But things got even worse when Goose missed another putt, which would officially end his chances for the win. Calvin stacked a birdie on hole 17, and that fist bump should have been enough for everyone to know this thing's over. Congrats to Calvin Heimberg for an absolute crazy win to become the Disc Golf Pro Tour champion. And that's everything you need to know from the DGPT Championship. That concludes the Pro Disc Golf season. But don't worry, we're still going to be uploading throughout the off season. You're definitely going to want to subscribe because something big is going down, and you're not going to want to miss it. And if for some reason you want to hear us recap even more, stay tuned for tomorrow's episode of The Spit Out, so you might as well subscribe at this point.